I'm Dr. John Gartner.
And I'm Dr. Harry Segal.
And welcome to this preview of Shrinking Trump.
On this week's show, we examine the disastrous meeting between Putin and Donald Trump, where he basically flipped and took on the Russian leader's talking points. We don't think that is a political event. We believe it was a psychopathological event in a long series of weird reversals that Trump has always shown after meeting with Putin. We also look at other instances of his continuing cognitive decline, as well as evidence of his severe personality disorder that we call malignant narcissism. Right, John?
Yes, and we also have an excellent guest this week, Dr. Richard Wood, who is an expert on malignant narcissism, who's going to talk to us about Trump's psychology and the psychology of Trump's followers. Some of the more evidence that we've been talking about recently has been his psychomotor performance, that we're seeing a deterioration in his motor performance, which also goes with dementia, because with dementia, there's a deterioration of all faculties, all functions. The language and the verbal dysfunction is what we notice first, and also what we notice in terms of his public behavior. But now his motor performance is starting to get worse and worse. One of the things that one of the neuropsychologists that we were working with last year, that she pointed out that is almost a dead ringer telltale sign of frontotemporal dementia is something they call a wide-based gait, where you have a sort of one of your limbs, one of your legs, you kind of swing it in a semicircle. What we're going to show you is Trump going down the red carpet, and you're going to see that he weaves. This is in Alaska when he met with Putin. He's weaving all along the carpet. But if you look a little more carefully, and we're going to show it fast in kind of a humorous way, and then we're going to show it slow so you can really examine it, it's that his right foot is swinging and it's pushing him to the left. So as it's swinging, he's veering left, and then he overcorrects and moves to the other side of the carpet. And then it happens again. So let's watch that. This is actually MeidasTouch talking about it.
Now, you'll see here as well, Donald Trump was struggling to walk on the red carpet that he rolled out for Vladimir Putin. You see right here, Donald Trump zigzagging around. I've just sped it up a little bit so you can see the zigzagging. Trump unable to walk in a straight line here.
I mean, if they pulled you over for a DUI and you walked that line, you would fail.
I noticed it too. In fact, I come up with a different clip that John and I talked about as we prepared for our show today. It's very odd, isn't it? It's because it doesn't look like someone who's drunk. But he's drifting back and forth as if he can't control one of his legs. It's usually isn't it usually the left that swings around, John? I'm trying to think.
I think it's his right leg.
The right leg. Yeah. And you have another clip of this, don't you?
Yeah, we're just going to show it again, but this time in not sped up, just so you can look a little more carefully at what he's doing with his feet. One step at a time, right? You can see it, his sort of the leg swings and it moves him sort of one step to the side. And it was step after step after step. And then he overcorrects. I just think it's important for people to see that. He had a couple of verbal slips this week. None of them were particularly egregious, but because we're following this story, we just wanted to show this to you. So he said that when he voted in Florida, he had to show his license plate.
When you go to a voting booth and you do it the right way and you go to a state that runs it properly, you go in, they even ask me, they asked me for my license plate, for identity. I said, I don't know if I have it. They said, sir, you have to have it. I was very impressed, actually.
Yeah, I always take off my license plate before I go in to vote. So that
yeah,
can hold up the license plate.
He won't let you vote if you don't take off your license plate off your car.
It's odd,
it's a small thing, but it's not a normal slip. You know what I mean? And it just keeps happening. Here's another kind of maybe called soft sign of dementia. It's where he starts getting, and this is what happens sometimes with people with dementia, they get sort of lost on one aspect of a topic and elaborate on that kind of slightly irrelevant detail. He's talking about how they need to replace some of the grass in some of the public parks.
We're going to be redoing the parks, redoing the grass. You know, grass is a lifetime like people have a lifetime. And the lifetime of this grass has long been gone when you look at the parks where the grass is old, tired, exhausted. We're going to redo the grass with the finest grasses. I know a lot about grass because I own a lot of golf courses, and if you don't have good grass, you're not in business.
Right, so just meandering on this topic.
Yeah, but he's talking about the grass being old and worn out and depleted. And I wonder if he's talking about himself at that moment. Without
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good psychological hypothesis.
I think all of us share the sense that malignant narcissism is a profoundly dangerous psychological entity, a constellation of dynamics that creates enormous risk and has the potential to generate terrible injury for great numbers of people. Some of the people who've been described as malignantly narcissistic, of course, include people like Trump and Putin, but also people like Stalin and Hitler, people, for instance, that Eric Fromm studied.
Right.
And Mao and Pol Pot and a variety of other people. When you begin to look at the injury that these people have created throughout human history, it's daunting and sobering. Hitler and Stalin, between the two of them, 120 to 170 million casualties in the Second World War.
Yeah.
And many more people who've been maimed and wounded and traumatized, setting the stage for future wars. It's really sobering. It's a profound threat to all of us. And the world now is dividing itself up between democratic, more or less democratic forms of government and forms of government which are more or less autocratic in nature. According to Freedom House, something like only 20% of the world's population can be said to be living under fully democratic societies. The rest is being run by autocrats, people who create a bunch of self-interested silos, many of which I presume are malignantly narcissistic. Not fair to draw that conclusion without studying them. That means that these governments are unempathic, unable to care about anyone outside the sphere of influence, profoundly interested in extending their power and their holdings, their money, their notoriety, but not able to demonstrate caring for the human community, collaboration, genuine empathy or compassion. It's a scary prospect. And honestly, I don't know how we find our way out of this. It's so overwhelming.
I remember learning that Kim Jong-un had starved millions of people, just starved them in his own country. I mean, what an extraordinary severity of malignant narcissism to not care about millions of people.
Oh, sure. And we see, I mean, in Trump, we see a guy who was celebrating the new healthcare plan that he and Paul Ryan were proposing that was going to cut 23 million Americans out of healthcare. He's destabilized economic conditions, created conditions of threat for everybody to live with. I think is doing his best to try to instigate
serious civil unrest that he hopes to exploit by instigating the Insurrection Act so that he can consolidate power. I don't think he has any intent of holding elections. In 2026, I think he's going to do his best to obviate election process. He's consolidating power, negating other voices, and doing it, as malignant narcissists do, by debasing and humiliating and threatening those people he perceives as standing in his way.
Yes.
And he does all of this without conscience, without hesitation, without remorse, without shame. And
Yes.
the more someone opposes him, the more virulent his retaliation is.
So that's the preview of our show. Now go watch the whole show. It streams every Friday at 3 p.m. on the Really American Network. That's simply part of YouTube. So go to youtube.com, search for Really American or Shrinking Trump, and you'll find our show. As I said, it streams every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And after that, you can watch it anytime you like or listen to it as an audio podcast. So please check it out, and we hope to see you there. Right, John?
Right. See you there.